Welcome to Life, Lessons, and Laughter with your host, Glenn Ambrose.
Hello, people. Happy Monday. Mindful Monday. Let's see, comments. Yeah, hop on here. I don't have an official topic, so now's your chance. Throw it out there early before I figure out something to talk about. Let me know what, say hi in the comments and let me know what you guys want to talk about. Otherwise, I'll just pick something. You know I will. Where are you guys watching from? Who are you? Talk to me. So, well, of course, in the interest of not having dead air, I'll start talking about something. If you guys have a topic that you want to discuss, let me know. Throw it out there. Throw it out there in the comments. So, yeah, today, well, as you can tell, I don't really have a particular topic in mind. Something popped into my head earlier, and then it popped into my head again. And what I'm thinking about is kind of, being where we are now. Like, and what I mean by that is from a spiritual perspective, a lot of the it's funny when you throw labels around when you're talking about spirituality. It's awkward because nothing actually describes it, so the new age spiritual movement, or the new age ancient wisdom, or whatever, it's we're always talking about the work and what we need to do and what we need to heal and how we need to heal it and what we need to go through and all this stuff. And of course, there's a lot of truth to that. But I think it gives us, not only can it give a false impression, but also talking about that makes it sound like it's linear. It makes it sound like it's like other things that we learn, like in school. You start off here, and then you learn this, and then you learn this, and then you get there, and and they even give you a nice little graduation ceremony and a piece of paper to let you know when you finish. And our spiritual work isn't like that. So unless we slow down and really look at this and try to understand and incorporate the spirituality into our lives, unless we do that, we're going to fall back into the default of linear thinking. So I kind of wanted to talk about that a little bit, because is there work we have to do? Yes. Is there healing we have to do? Yes. Is there things we have to go through? Yes. All that stuff, there's surrender. There's even non-action we have to do. We have to allow, we have to remember our truth. We need to forget what we are conditioned to believe. So there's non-efforting as well as efforting that we need to do. But we get caught up doing that, and there's no graduation. And there's almost this implication that we're going to be happy once we're done all this, and we're not going to be happy when we're done all this stuff. Like there is no happiness down the road. Like it's just not possible. So that like there isn't anything that's going to transpire or that you're going to wake up and all of a sudden you're happy. It just doesn't work that way. So there's, which sounds a little bit daunting. It sounds like happiness isn't there. No, it's there. It's everywhere. It's around us. And we can actually choose to accept it and land into it at any point. Let's see. And thank you, Susan, for your comment. Let's see what it is. Yes, for me, it's about not accepting how I actually am. Instead, I go straight into changing myself. Yeah. And like I said, are there changes that we need to make? Well, sure, there are changes we need to make, but our happiness can't be contingent on that. Like, we can be happy now, like all of us, even if we're in difficult circumstances. I mean, people have found peace on death row. So like, peace comes from within, happiness comes from within. So we can find that no matter where we are. Is it easy when we're in difficult circumstances? No, so, but my point is, we don't want to get caught up doing the work, doing it like because we'll just always do the work. Like, there's a saying that if you want to ensure that you never find happiness, become a seeker of it. So if you pay attention to that, it's talking about, like, I like describing things in terms of energy. So it's being a seeker, right? What is a seeker? What's the energy of a seeker? The energy of a seeker, or the purpose of a seeker, or what a seeker does, is a seeker seeks something, right? So if you're seeking something and you already have it, then you're off. Why would you go looking for something that you already have? You wouldn't, right? Because you have it. So you don't have to go looking for it because you already have it. So this is what is meant by that. If you're seeking happiness, then you're looking outside of yourself for it through circumstances or knowledge or understanding. And you don't need any of those. This is the overlap and the dichotomy of spirituality. Like, people think that they need to understand everything to live spiritually, and technically you don't. I mean, can learning things and implementing them, and learning, so therefore understanding, getting them on deep levels and implementing them, can those things help your life? Yes. Can they be part of a spiritual journey? Yes. But they don't have to be all of it. Like, you can just be happy where you are. You don't need anything to be different. Then you can work on yourself and work on things and learn how to attach to that more, be in the present moment more, maintain that for longer periods of time. But you don't have to change anything. You're not broken. And I think what happens on this spiritual walk is people get too caught up in doing the work. Because, like I said, you need to slow down and think this through, because otherwise you fall back to your default. So if you're not happy, it's you have to go inside, find the happiness. And if you're caught up doing the work, like, just stop every once in a while, stop doing the work and locate where you are. Like, and I think a lot of you on a spiritual path are going to find that if you just slow down and stop and you look around like where you are, and you just come back to the present moment and you become still, you're going to find like, hey, I'm okay. Like I'm good. Like everything's good. I got this. I'm good. And like, believe that, like anchor into that. I know this is awkward because I'm kind of, sometimes this happens with spirituality because you're talking about something that is an intangible, you can't see it, you can't touch it, you can only feel it. So it's like, how do you put words to that? How do you label it? You can't. You just use pointers towards it. So this is just pointing towards it. A lot of you on the spiritual path, like the spiritual people, a lot of you have been on this path for quite a while, and I mean, and some for 20, 30 years, some even longer. But even for, 5 years or 2 years or something, like you've been on this for a while. If you've leaned in and done some work, you should be basically a different person now than you were when you started. Like literally a different person. I was talking about this at dinner the other night with a friend of mine, and we're like, yeah, literally you're a different person, like literally a different person. Physically, none of your cells are the same. They're different. We regenerate and stuff. So physically, we're literally standing in a new body than we were before. So from a physical standpoint, it's different skin cells, like physically, we're different. Emotionally, mentally, spiritually, we're different. We've had different experiences. We've learned different things. We think differently. Our perspectives have shifted. What a spiritual awakening is just a shift of perspective. You used to look at something one way, and then you go, oh, okay, maybe you were exposed to it. Maybe it just came to you, whatever. But something clicked inside of you, and you went, oh, okay. Oh, all right. So I'm going to interact with life differently. Like, and that's a shift of perspective. You used to have this perspective, and then it shifted, and now you have this perspective. So you're looking and interacting with life differently. We've all experienced that. I mean, that like just growing up, you do that, like, I mean, when you're 4 years old playing with a Matchbox car or a doll, and then all of a sudden you're 16 years old and playing some advanced video game or and interested in girls or boys, your perspective has changed, right? You're looking at things differently than you used to. So just in life, we experience these perspective shifts. Well, there's really no difference. There's, in fact, a lot of it is very similar. Like when right after I woke up, I was having a conversation. Well, it was probably, I don't know, maybe a couple of years or something. A couple of years after I woke up, I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, and he had gone through a difficult experience, and he was explaining it to me. And he was like, okay, I went through this experience. It was difficult. I had some negative aspects. Faith, come. Faith's watching somebody out the window. So she's crying over there. Come here. Good girl. Yeah, stay here. So my friend was explaining this, that he went through a difficult experience, and he was like, I've learned that I need to be more careful with my behaviors in that area because I'm older now and I own a house and I have responsibilities. And like, if I were to make a bad choice in this area, it could really mess things up for me. The trajectory that I'm going in a good direction, and this could throw a wrench into that and make things much more difficult. And I was listening to him, and I went, yeah, how you're always asking me like what happened to me? People used to ask me that a lot because, they used to know Glenn, the old Glenn, which was dysfunctional, alcoholic. Now, all of a sudden, I seem to understand life differently and interact with life differently. So people would get curious as to what happened to me. And so he had explained that to me. And I said, this is a good example of what happened to me. Like, you had an experience and you learned from it and it changed your perspective on something. And then you make adjustments in your life and then you move forward. So that's how a lot of people grow up, and some good, some bad, but whatever. That's how a lot of people learn. They grow. Like, most addicts, alcoholics, what they stop maturing at the age that they really start abusing. So like I was abusing like around 16. So like I really stopped maturing emotionally at that age because I just drank everything away. Like if I felt sad, I drank it away. If I felt happy, I drank to celebrate it. If I was mad, I drank. If like anything was happening, I was drinking. That was my coping mechanism. That was what I did to deal with life. So after a while, like I wasn't maturing. So I wasn't experiencing problems, shifting my perspective, and then growing from it. I was kind of emotionally stunted. So I said, you know how you experience something, it changed your perspective, and then what you did was you grew from it. That's how most people do it. I didn't do that. I basically didn't really grow emotionally for 20 years. And then at 35, when I woke up, I learned everything in 3 months. Well, 6 months or a year, whatever. I took all of life's lessons and I just learned them all at once, and from a spiritual perspective, which was even better. That's really wonderful because then you learn things on a deep level that you can implement in a lot of different areas. So it was cool. But my point is that it's a change of perspective is your spiritual awakening. That's all it is. You just see things different. You interact with life different. And it can happen quickly. They can happen over time. But life is what happens when you're busy doing other things, including spiritual work. Like if your life is dedicated to spiritual work and that's all you do, you're missing your life. Like, what's the point? This is how, and I'm not trying to say that I do it perfectly. I don't, but I always try to put things in perspective. What's the point? What's the point of me doing this spiritual work? So I can just work on something for 10, 20, 30 years and then be happy? Like that's not what life is about, man. Life is happening now. I want to be happy now. I want to acknowledge who I am because of the spiritual work I've done now. This is something that people don't do. I did a podcast a long time ago called, I think, Be Who You're Becoming. And I've mentioned this to people recently. Be who you're becoming. If you've done some spiritual work, then stop and go in and acknowledge the work that you've done. Notice, we have to slow down, man. We have to slow down and do this type of stuff. Because this is the problem is we just go on to the next thing. We're like, oh, I walked on hot coals. That was wonderful. Oh my God, life-changing. Okay, cool. So what's the next thing? A sound bath? Okay, I'll do a sound bath. Oh my God, I felt all this vibration. Amazing, wonderful, healing. Okay, what's the next thing? Reiki? Oh, okay, I'll do the Reiki. Oh, what's the next thing? Oh, a drum circle. Okay, we're gonna go do a drum circle. Oh, well, I'm gonna get certified and read cards. And I got 13 certifications now, and I do all this. That is just, that's a different addiction. Like you're just addicted to something else. Life is what is happening here. So why are we doing all this stuff? So we eventually can graduate. There is no graduation. There isn't a graduation. So like what we need to do is take stock in the work that we've done and sit down and get familiar with it. Be like, oh, wow, I used to think like this, and now I think like this. Wow. And this way is so much healthier. Wow. We have to be the observer of ourselves, man, so we can absorb what we've done. You work so hard to do this spiritual work, but do you pat yourself on the back for it? Do you give yourself the credit that you deserve? Do you stop and be like, stop being a seeker and start being one who found? Most of the people that I know, quite honestly, that are doing this spiritual work are basically awakened beings. And very few people refer to themselves as that. It sounds like, oh, who do I think I am? You just awakened, man. Did the veil lift a little bit? Did you see that there's more to life than chasing a paycheck or getting a BMW? Or like, did you find that's not a passing thought? Like if you ask 10,000 people, that can you buy happiness? Is happiness inside of a car? They're gonna go no, but they live like that. All their actions are pointing in the direction that it is. So that's not what I'm talking about. There's like, if you ask somebody unconscious if they're a victim, they're probably going to be like, no, I'm not a victim. I don't do that victim mentality thing. Are you responsible for your own life? Oh my God, I'm totally responsible for my own life until anything happens in their world. Then it's everybody else's fault. Oh my God, you believe the way my boss treated me? Oh my God, that person didn't even say thank you when I held the door for them. Oh my God, I just don't know why my kids talk to me like that. Everything is everybody else's fault. So those are not the people that I'm talking about. I'm talking about the people that have done some spiritual work, gone within, faced some difficult facts, taken some radical responsibility for their own lives and taken some action and really done some work to benefit themselves. Those people, you guys are awake. Are you completely enlightened? No. Very few people on this planet are. Very few people in history have been. But that doesn't mean that you're not awake. And I think we need to make a difference. And these are just words, so I mean, I'm sure there's other words that can explain this. But I think it's important for us to start viewing ourselves as awakened beings. We are awake. We are not asleep anymore. Does that mean we know everything? No. Does that mean we've learned how to implement everything? No. Are we going to be learning forever? Yeah, probably. But that's something that people latch onto too much. You go, well, I'm always growing. I'm never done. It's a lifetime journey. Don't freaking look at it like that. I mean, because all that does is it puts off our happiness now. Now, is there some truth to it? Yeah, of course, we're going to constantly be growing and constantly expanding. That's our nature. Nothing sits still. Like you never finish. There isn't a finish line. That's why there's no graduation date. Like, so and that's what makes it even more important to recognize where you are right now, because you're never going to finish. So like, if you don't recognize where you are now, you'll never you'd just be a work in progress. How you doing? Working on it. 20 years later, how you doing? Working on it. Oh my God. Like, is that what life's about? To be working on it? Like, no, we need to enjoy life now, embrace life now. And part of the way we do that is by recognizing the shifts that we made within ourselves and patting on ourselves on the back and actually going like, wow, look at me. You know what? I was unhappy before and I did some inner work and I found the happiness that was within me. I found the peace that was within me. And I feel good. And I walk in this, I interact with life in a much healthier way now. 5 years, I'll probably be interacting with life in even a healthier way. I'm not worried about that. What I'm worried about is right now, I'm awake. The veil has been lifted. I understand that there's something bigger than me. I understand that there's this spiritual way of looking at life that really fills my soul and makes me feel connected and part of the whole. And it feels good and I like it. And I'm experiencing more joy and happiness in my life because of it. Yes. Yay me. Good. Like, that we have to look at ourselves like that. I'm an awakened being, and feel that I'm an awakened being. Look at yourself in the mirror, every day. And just look at yourself in the eyes and go, I am an awakened being. And don't look away, just look. Do that every day until it starts feeling natural. Because it should, because you are, because you've done the work. Like you like I said, there's no finish line. So like you have to own it now. Because that's when you're like, oh, yeah, okay. And you start interacting with the world differently, even more differently, because like otherwise you just, since there's no graduation date, you're unconsciously waiting for it. And then you go, oh, well, am I like, you really become a seeker because you haven't recognized that you already found. So you're sitting there one day and you're like, oh, well, am I done? Well, no, I'm not done. I'm always growing. Oh, okay. Then I must have to go get another book. Okay. So then you read that one, then you finish that book and then you're like, am I done? No, you're always growing. Oh, okay. So maybe I need to go on another retreat or listen to another podcast. Yeah. Okay. Now, okay, now what do I need to do? Now what do I need to do? It's always one more thing to do. You never arrive. You never get there. And that's what I want you guys to do. I want you to get there. I want you to arrive. I want you to be like, wow, I like interacting with life as an awakened being. This is much more fun than my old life. I like this. I'm going to go enjoy it. Good. Do that. What brings you joy? Oh, I like doing this. Good. Go do that. Go experience that. Why? As an expression of this joy that you're feeling. Yes. Your life is your laboratory. You need to really implement this stuff, which I know I've talked about a lot, but after you implement it, give yourself credit for implementing it. Like, own it. You did this. So I'm going to check out some comments. Hey, Mike in Arizona. What's happening? Thanks for tuning in. Jody Lynn. Now, is that nice to see you too? I can't really see. The picture is small. Is that the Jody I know from Rhode Island? I'm not sure. Let me know if you're still watching. I think anywho, so, and Michelle from Panama. Question, maybe if there's a danger of that being egotistical. I'm an awakened being. Well, yeah, anything's a danger of being egotistical thinking. The difference is whether you say it in if you think of it as in an egotistical way, or you think of it as a non-egotistical way. Right? Like everything is like that. It's about the energy. in which you're saying it. So it's, you know, like the example I give a lot of times with this was when I was watching Pink about singing, I think it was Bobby McGee. And she, you know, I heard Pink sings Bobby McGee, and I'm like, oh my God, I love that song. I got to check this out. So I listened to her, and she freaking, you know, just, it was awesome. So then it cuts to her talking after with some interview. And they're like, yeah, you know, that when you sang that song, Bobby McGee, and she just leans back and you kind of see her thinking back to when she recorded that. And she goes, oh yeah, I rocked that. And I was sitting there watching her, and I was paying attention to her energy like I usually do, because that tells more than the words. And I was like, oh my God, that was so beautiful, because there was no ego in it. She did nail it. She did slay it. She did rock it. It was freaking awesome. And she owned it. There was no ego. She wasn't like, oh yeah, I nailed that. You know, you can tell just the way somebody said, oh my God, yes, I was amazing there. Like, oh, I nailed that. You can say even the exact same words, you know, like if she said she rocked it, she could be like, oh yeah, I rocked that. That's egotistical. You can feel it, right? But she didn't do it like that. She was just thinking back, going, oh yeah, I rocked that. And yeah, she freaking did rock it. And it was awesome. You know, it's not about what we say. It's about it's about the energy in which we say it. And this is actually a really good comment, Michelle. I should probably do a whole podcast on this. This is one of the biggest problems in society. It's that we have this fear of being egotistical. And it's just embedded in us. Just and we're so scared of it. We are so scared of being egotistical that we lean away from it so much that it's way over. It's my favorite pendulum, right? Oh, for you guys watching, it's the pendulum. So like being egotistical is over here. We don't want that, right? So what we do is we go way over here. So there's no danger of ever being mistaken for being egotistical, which is just as negative. Because what this is self-deprecation. What this is not being, this is absence of self-love. When you come way over here, you can't even love yourself because you're afraid that people are going to mistake it for you being egoic. That's what we need to stay away from. You know, I don't know when this started. You know, I like when I tune into it, I kind of get flashes of the like stock market crash in the 20s and stuff, and like where you had this gigantic shift of wealth, where you had these people that had millions of dollars, which was, you know, even more money back then. And then all of a sudden they lost it all. And lots of people had lots of kids back then and they couldn't feed them and they're sending them off to live with relatives. And it was really, the depression was a major blow in the United States. Now, I think what we're talking about is worldwide. So I don't think it necessarily started here, but I see symptoms of that, and it wasn't that long ago generation wise. So I think that that's an aspect that makes it worse in the United States. Let me clarify, worse than it was, not necessarily worse than other places in the world. So, you know, I think what it was like, you know, you're used to just living high on the hog and just going and doing all these wonderful things. And then you see your friends that you just, you know, like, you know, whatever the heck those rich people did back then, you know, throwing thousands of dollars around in a night. And then you see your friends and they just ship their kids off to live with their aunt in freaking Ohio on a farm. and they're like, "Oh, how are you?" And you're like, "Oh, wonderful. We just had one of those nights last night where we just drank all the finest booze and we just partied all night and threw thousands of dollars around and had lobster, and it was really a wonderful night. How are you?" And they're like, "Oh, that's nice. It really sucks because we're broke now and we can't feed our children and life is horrible." And they're like, "Ooh, maybe I should keep my mouth shut, because I think I just made them feel bad, But you take a scenario like that and you put it on top of an already dysfunctional society that's already thinking like that. And I think it exacerbated it, So what it is we can't play small to make other people feel better, and there's nothing wrong with self-love. If you think you're better than other people because of, I don't know how much money you have, or because you're spiritually awakened. If you think, it just made me laugh saying it out loud. If you think you're better than other people because you're spiritually awakened, you're not spiritually awakened. Or you have some specific work you need to do. I talk about this in a podcast about like spiritual snobbery. It's like, it's natural, like when you awaken spiritually and you start understanding life in a different way, that's much more functional and loving and wonderful. Like it's almost hard to remember what you were like before you awaken to this, because it's so obvious and it's so clear. You're like, oh my God, this is, how can people not see this? And you're so excited to share it and that you found it. And it's just this wonderful thing, right? So like, we have a tendency to look at people and forget that we were just like them 6 months earlier, or 5 years earlier, or 20 years earlier. Like we were just like them. So if you think you're better than somebody because you're spiritually awakened, then that's not what I'm talking about, because you're not. We're not better. We're all one. We're not better than anybody. That's egotistical. If you think you're an awakened being. So here's I guess I talked around this to come to the answer. Here's your answer, Michelle. I'm an awakened being. I'm an awakened being. That's just a fact. And as I embody it, I feel love and goodness and nothing but healthy feelings. So there's nothing wrong with that. If I say I'm an awakened being, therefore I'm better than other people, that's egotistical. You see, that's where the difference is there's nothing we can be like. It took me a while to be able to be like, I'm a really good life coach. I am. I've done it long enough. I've helped people. I know that I've helped people. I know that I know what I'm talking about, and I know what I'm talking about helps people. So I'm confident in saying that I'm a good life coach. Now, does that make me egotistical? No, it's just a fact as far as I'm concerned. Now, somebody that doesn't think I'm a good life coach could have a different perspective, and they have the right to their perspective. I would venture to say that if somebody thinks I'm not a good life coach, then what they're doing is they're personalizing it. Like they might not like what I'm saying or agree with what I say or resonate with the way I say it or what I say. And that's fine. Like that doesn't mean I'm a bad life coach. That just means that I shouldn't be their life coach. There's a big difference there. So I don't think people should be going like, no, Glenn's a bad life coach because I don't agree with what he says. That doesn't make me a bad life coach. That makes me not your life coach, as far as I'm concerned, But I'm confident in saying I'm a good life coach. I've helped lots of people. And my content has helped hundreds of thousands. Now, do I think I'm better than other people because of that? No, I don't. That's why it's not egotistical. So the egotistical part, see, ego causes separation. Ego thrives on separation. It doesn't understand the concept of oneness. So that's a good way to monitor whether something is egotistical or not. If it's egotistical, if it creates separation between you and others, usually in a way where you're better, but it works both ways. It doesn't really give a shit. If like you, because it's a non-thinking entity, so it doesn't really make much sense. But like you can have people that have locked on to the egotistical view that they have the worst life, right? So if that's their egotistical identity that they're identified with, if somebody comes along and goes, well, your life is really bad, let me tell you about my life. My life is even worse than yours. They'll get defensive. And they'll be like, oh yeah, well, let me one up you or one down you, because they don't want to lose their identity of being the biggest victim. So it works both ways. That's why I say ego creates separation. It doesn't matter if it's above or beyond. Usually it's above, but I mean, it can definitely go beyond too. I mean, below. So that's what the ego does, is it creates separation between you and others. So like the more, if you're saying I'm an awakened being, then part of that awakening is understanding that like we're all one and we're not better. We're not better than anybody else. I mean, I think it's funny that, to think that you're better than other people because you're spiritual. Like what? Then you don't understand the concept of oneness, So yeah, that's really what it is if it makes you, if it makes you feel unconditional love and love for yourself and love in general, love, man, love. If it makes you feel love, then it's love. It's self-love. If it makes you feel better than or different in some way, then that's ego. Yeah, that was a good question, Michelle. I liked how we went down the avenue of separation. This is how we know, like I look back in ancient history and I'm like, boy, I can tell the ego was in charge because of separation that was created. Look at the caste systems. That's separation. That's ego manifesting, right? And you look at, Christians killing other Christians in the name of God that says, thou shalt not kill. And then they go kill in the name of the God that said, thou shalt not kill. Well, how can you rationalize that? I mean, how does that make sense? It doesn't, right? So there must be a different perspective that they saw it from where it did make sense. Well, what is that? Well, it's separation, obviously, because if I'm a person, I can't kill a person because God said not to. So that would be against God's law. So what does my perspective need to be for me to go kill another person in the name of God? Well, what I need to do is I need to create separation. So I am a believer and they are a non-believer. So now we're not two people. I am a believer and they're a non-believer. So that creates separation. I'm good, they're bad. Well, I can kill a bad non-believer. I mean, that's okay. I don't see anything in the Bible that says you can't kill a bad non-believer. It just says I can't kill a person. And when I label them, we don't understand how important labels are. That's another podcast I can do. Like, labels have meanings. When we label something, we minimize it into what that we think that word means. So in this situation, what I'm talking about here is you take a human being and you label them a non-believer. People think that that's harmless, but they don't understand the unconscious implications that it does. It literally strips their humanity away from them. Well, how do you know that, Glenn? Well, because they killed each other. because of that. That's how I know. If you go to a bunch of people that killed a bunch of other people in the name of God, and you say, well, those were people, why did you kill them? They'd explain it to you. They go, well, no, I mean, those they were dangerous non-believers. Well, yeah, but they're still people. Well, yeah, technically I understand what you mean. They're still people, but they're dangerous non-believers. Like, so when you label that, that becomes more important than the fact that they're a human. That's dehumanizing them. And people don't even realize that they're doing this. And we still do it. You know, we just go over to other countries and we kill them. And then we just go, well, there were the other country. They're the bad people. It's like they're people. Yeah, but they're bad people, though. We're good people. Oh, well, then go slay them. I mean, I didn't realize they were bad, because like when I went over there, I saw them like raising their children and trying to feed them and hugging each other and loving one another like other human beings. But, you know, now I understand that they were bad human beings. Oh, well, then go kill them all. You know, I mean, it's ridiculous. We still do this type of thinking. So our labels, you know, and you know, that's obviously the most extreme example. But if you know, if you want to know a good way to understand this on a simpler level, just go outside and look at a tree or a plant or a flower or an animal and erase the label from your brain. Just look at it in wonderment. Just look at it deeply and just take the label away. Just look at its features like a tree. You know, you look at a tree and you just go, oh, look, it's, you know, I'm kind of noticing how tall and grand it is, but I'm not using the words to describe tall and grand. It's just like, and beautiful. And the colors and and look, it's like if I just take all the words out and I just look, I can sense that it's alive. There's an aliveness to it, and I can feel something. It's a sensation of like pleasure or joy or peace or something because I think I'm connecting with this thing. Oh, you can feel that. You can see little kids do it. You know, when they see a dragonfly for the first time, and they don't know what it is. Like, why are they getting so excited? Because it's amazing. There's no label. They can connect to the essence, the aliveness of what it is. It's more than just a dragonfly. It's a being. It's a living being that has essence, that is formed out of love. And if you can feel it, but you got to take away the labels, because that just minimizes it into what your brain thinks that label is. Oh, that's a non-believer. Oh, that's a butterfly. Oh, that's a tree. Look at a tree. Well, yeah, I've seen trees. No, connect to the tree. Huh? Right. Yeah. Do that. You know, and I've told this before, look up into the sky at night and look at the space between the stars, because everybody looks at the stars. Why? Because they're things. It's an object, and it attracts our attention. Our attention is attracted to objects. Why? Because we can label them. Then we think we know what it is. So don't look at the stars. Look at the space in between the stars, because you don't have a label for it. It's nothing. It's no thing. It's not a thing. It doesn't have a label. You know, they used to think that was empty space, and most people still do. They found actually it's energy. There is something in the blackness that we don't know. Like there's energy up there, you know, so we can connect to that energy, and it's easier to connect to that energy because we don't have a label for it yet. As soon as we think we know what it is, it minimizes it into a thought form. So yeah. So I think I'm probably going to wrap up. But yeah, so this is what we need to do. Just start, you're an awakened being. It doesn't mean that you're better than other people. It just means that your eyes have opened and you see things differently. Does that mean that there's no more work to do? No, you can like an awakened being. So here's a good way, I think, to wrap up. So an awakened being is a label, right? And we have to be careful what we attach to that label. So hey, Jennifer. So the label of an awakened being, what you don't want to be is like, I am better than other people. I have arrived and there's no more work to do. Like, you don't have to attach all that stuff. We have to learn to hold these mindsets looser. We have to stop thinking we know everything. Like, just, what is an awakened being? It's somebody that woke up to a new way of being. That's all. You awoke to a new way of being, a more truthful way of being, a more loving way of being. Cool. Does that mean you're perfect at it? Nope. It just means that you're awakened. But what that does is when you change the way you look at yourself, you start interacting with life even more differently. Because you're like, if you're always like, oh, I really have this work to do on myself, then you interact with life as one who has that has constant work to do on themselves. So like you never really give yourself permission to be happy and embrace the work that you've already done. It's just well, there's more. There's more. Like you don't see people in 10th grade celebrating their graduation from high school. Why? Because they haven't graduated yet. That's why. Right? So this is the mindset we're trying to avoid because there is no graduation. And if we're not conscious about it, we will fall into that mindset. We will be like, oh, I'm a sophomore. 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 No, like you're not. You're further than you were before. You've awakened to a new way of being. Oh, I have. Wow. Okay. I do see things differently. I interact with life differently. Right. That way you can transcend stuff. Like this is the problem, is we never really transcend anything. And I think that that's like a big aspect of this. One of my favorite words is non-issue. I say it all the time. When something's a non-issue, that to me is a sign of freedom, that I've transcended. When I used to have an issue or a problem and now it's a non-issue, that means I've transcended it. It's not an issue anymore. It's just not. Why? Well, because I worked through it and now it's not an issue. Oh, well, then are you finished? Well, no, I'm not finished. I mean, I'll always be growing and expanding, but I mean, I don't have to walk around like somebody who has all this baggage. I've worked through half of it or 3/4 of it or a bunch of it, whatever. We don't have to quantify it. I've worked through a bunch of it. So now I'm a person walking through life as one that has transcended a bunch of that baggage. So I'm different than the person that was walking around carrying all that baggage. So I need to embody that and allow myself to embrace that and feel the joy that comes with that. And if you do, you'll notice you start interacting with life better. You like, until you do that, it's kind of like you're in a holding pattern. You're kind of waiting for somebody to give you permission to be happy. Because last you knew, you had all this work and it seemed like this giant mountain and you don't really know where you are in the work. And I don't know, sometimes I'm happy, but then sometimes I'm not. So I don't know where I am. And you just kind of oscillate like that through life. And so just pump the brakes, man. Slow down. You did all that stuff. So if you transcended a bunch of your baggage, own it. Act like it. Man, I transcended a bunch of baggage. I'm much happier than I used to be. I like this. I'm an awakened being. Cool. And I'll even awaken more. Isn't this wonderful? Yeah, so that expression does feel like it creates separation for me. I am love. Taps me in a bit more. Yeah. So and that geez, Michelle, you are on fire. Maybe it's all this book writing. If you guys haven't checked out Michelle's book yet, please do. I am not much of a reader, so and I really enjoy it. I picked it up the other night. I had put it down for a while. I didn't read anything for a little while, but I picked it up again and I read it the other night and I was like, wow, I really enjoy this book. So check out Michelle's books. Well, your first one as up until now. Yeah, and post the name of it. I'll put it up on the screen here, Michelle. So yeah, Michelle, that's a great point. That expression does feel like it creates separation for me. I am love taps me in a bit more. So that's what you do. Like this is the choose whatever works for you. This is the individuality of our process. You know, words have meaning and those words differentiate between people. You know, like me saying I'm an awakened being, I'm fine with that. Like I don't feel any separation. I don't feel there's any ego attachment to it. So therefore I can say it. Now, Michelle likes saying I am love better. Okay, cool. Then say that, you know, because the other words feel egoic to her. Okay, then don't say those words, right? You know, that's important. Like I didn't use the word God for years, like 4 or 5 years, maybe longer. And those of you watching, that's the name of Michelle's book, Heart First, A Female Psychedelic Call to Adventure. It's excellent. So go check that out. But yeah, so words have meaning and they're not the same for everybody. You know, that's actually a misinterpretation by some people in the spiritual circles. They're like, somebody gave me a majorly hard time because I said like, heck yeah, on a post. I was excited about something and I said, heck yeah. And they're like, could you choose different words? Words have vibrational rates, and heck is a negative word. And whether you know it or not, you're sending negativity out into the world or into your life or something. I forgot what I'm like, no, I'm not. Like, heck yeah. I feel nothing but excitement and love when I say heck yeah. So guess what? That's what's attached to it. And that's what's coming out. Words don't have vibrational rates except what's assigned to them by people. That's how the vibrational rate is. There's not some magic word that like you can say something in love, but it means hate because there's some vibrational rate to it. Like that's not how it works. So if a word doesn't resonate with you, then don't use it. Don't, don't use that word. Find the words that work for you, because we've developed these unconscious understandings of these words and attached different meanings to them unconsciously throughout our entire lives. And, maybe, like I'll just use this for an example. Maybe an awakened being, maybe the first time Michelle heard that, it was from some egotistical person that was, saying it in an egotistical way. So she got that bad vibe, and then therefore it kind of lodged into her and it has that meaning to it. Okay, cool. Then if it doesn't resonate, just push it aside and use a different word, So that's another good point. All right, people. Well, I'm going to wrap this one up. And to be honest with you, I thought it was going to be a really short one. Like like I was actually thinking I'm just going to pop on for like 30 minutes or something, but of course it turned into something something else. And I found a line to go down. So, and thank you for the participation, Michelle, and everybody else. I appreciate you. So cool. I think that will do it. Yeah, enjoy your life. You guys have made some changes, and make sure you give yourself credit for the work that you've done and embody being the new person that you are, because you are a different person, even on a physical level. But when you grow and expand, you are different intellectually, you are different emotionally, you are different spiritually, you vibrate at a different level, you are different physically with the cells. You are literally a different person in every way, shape, and form than you were before, 2 years ago or 5 years ago or 20 years ago, whatever. You're literally a different person. So give yourself credit and be like, wow, I'm a different person. This is who I am now. And as you acknowledge that, you will start interacting with life from the perspective of who you are. But you need to slow down and be who you work so hard to become. Right. So, and like I said, if you want more of this, you can go check out that podcast. I believe it's Be Who You Are Becoming or something along those lines. Just, do a keyword search on some of these platforms. Most of the platforms have it. And you can do a keyword search through these because, I think I'm around 300 podcasts or something now. So I can't keep track of all of them. And that one was, I think it might have been in the first couple of years that I did that. So check it out. Hey, Tina, you're very welcome. All right, you guys, thank you for watching, listening, and that will do it for now. I'm going to hit my ending and cut out. Peace. Have a great week.
Looking for more? Check out over 200 episodes of Life Lessons and Laughter, or click the link in the description of this episode to connect with Glenn directly.